Hello, this is just a quick run through of the Arts Council's musical instruments for band scheme for 25-26, trying to give you some pointers to allow you to get ahead of the game if you're planning to apply for it. This year should be slightly easier than it has been in the past few, but hopefully any queries that you may have will be answered by this presentation. So first thing that's obviously key to take on board is that the deadline is the 1st of August, Friday the 1st of August at 12 noon. It's an online process. There'll be no extensions beyond 12 noon. The system actually shuts down. Our advice would always be to you, do not leave it to the last minute, just in case there are what are known as system pressures, i.e. the website crashes. Much better to get it done early if you possibly can. Who can apply? Any Northern Ireland based band who have not received funding from the scheme since July 2020. And if you contact the Ulster-Scots Community Network, they can check your eligibility. It's open to part music, melody, marching or blood and thunder flute bands, accordion bands or orchestras, pipe bands, brass and silver bands, or concert and wind bands. Your band must be formally constituted. You must have your own bank account, safeguarding policy accounts, etc. And in terms of bank account, they will accept credit union accounts. Priorities for funding from their Arts Council's guidance notes. So they want applications which clearly demonstrate high quality musicianship, a commitment to training and musical education, particularly if you're bringing through young people, and a demonstrable commitment to repertoire and technique development in relation to the band's existing repertoire and technical standards. And what all that means is you're committed to improving the tunes you play and playing them to a better standard. How much funding is available? This year, there's been some sort of figures bandied around that it could be as much as 750,000. We're not sure about that. Traditionally, it was 250, but the amount of money is usually limited in one way or another, and it usually exceeds demand. So they may be able to fund every application they get, they may not. So it's up to you to make sure your application is as good as it can be. They indicate that they want to distribute the funds as widely as possible, and they may take into consideration whether you've previously received money or whether you've received funding from other sources. Similarly, they like to try and ensure there's geographic and type spread. So they like to see that, flutes are covered as well as pipes and brass bands, and equally that, they're getting around as much of the country as they possibly can. So as mentioned at the very start, it's an online application. There's no hard copy to be submitted. It's all done through the Arts Council website. You log on there and create an account. You're then sent a link to the application process and your particular ID reference number. If you've applied before, this should come up as soon as you enter anyway. If not, it's done automatically. You can complete the application in stages. Each time you save it, it'll be saved until the next time you go in to carry on. Section 1 is relatively straightforward. It's all about the band. What's the name of the band? What type of band are you? Address, where do you rehearse or meet? Your email address, if you have a website, your website address, which local council area you're in. They'll need to tell them which council area is the one you operate from, and contact details for the main person dealing with your application. And this person should know all about the application. Don't put somebody's name there who doesn't know anything about it. The band's name should match exactly your constitution and your bank account. Bear in mind that they treat your website and your social media feed, so your Twitter or Facebook page, etc. They treat them all as if they're official organs of the band. So they will check them. And your website or your social media feed should not include anything offensive, sectarian, or racist. Email, whatever email address you use, make sure it's a regularly checked account and that it's current. And as I said already, the contact person should be able to answer all queries regarding the application. Section 2 of the band details the year that the band was started, its regular rehearsal nights and times. So if you meet every Thursday at 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, that's all you're putting in. Type of organization is the next one. Most bands will come under the banner of an unincorporated club or association. Some of these may be charities, and if that's the case, then include that in it. Primary practice, traditionally here it tends to be music is your primary practice, or it could be community arts. But these are pull down menus. It then asks for the main officers. So, as per your constitution, whatever your constitution says, that's the number of officers you're supposed to have. And that should also be uploaded to the government funding database. And we'll talk about that a bit later on. How many people are involved in your band? How many people are players in the band? How many people are learners within the band who maybe aren't up to the standard yet of being out on parade? How many people are involved backroom, in terms of people maybe who manage the band or help with booking, volunteers who help out when you're doing stuff? Include all of them in the numbers involved with the band. Section 3 on the form is about Access NI. Are you registered with Access NI? Your answer here should be no. It's highly unlikely that any of the bands out there will be registered as an organisation with Access NI. You'll tick box B that you're registered with an umbrella body in order to obtain your Access NI checks. And here you can fill in if you use Volunteer Now, you can put that in. Equally, if you use the Ulster-Scots Community Network, you should put them in there, and the Ulster-Scots Community Network can do the checks for you on an ongoing basis. Section 4 then is about the musical instruments. They ask for a complete list of the instruments currently played by the band, whether you're intending to replace those or not. They want you to list the exact type, make, and model of instrument, whether they're owned by the band, on loan to the band, or owned by the members, and list the age of the instruments and be as detailed here as you possibly can. So you're going to say that we have 6-number high tension snare drums. They're Premier HTS 200s. They're owned by the band. They're 27 years old and we're replacing them. Don't fill in, we have 6 red drums. Section 4 then asks for you to list the instruments you wish to purchase. And here you're filling in the exact quantities, the types, the makes and models of all instruments. And there's a requirement under this scheme that all instruments must be purchased and delivered by the 31st of March 2026. And you should talk to your supplier to make sure that that is possible. And actually, when you're filling in the list of instruments, there is an instrument pro forma that you can download as part of the process, and you have to upload that with your application, and that will list all the instruments you're planning to buy and how much they're going to cost. So, okay, we get in now to the sort of scoring questions, and there are a number of these. Most of them, the maximum number of words you can fill in here is 200. Some of them it's only 150, and I think there's only one where there's no limit. But you're starting off here with the quality and development of arts activity. And what you need to be aware is, as a band, you are providing musical opportunities for people, and that is an arts activity. So you want to talk about the standard of your musicality. Who teaches the band? What are their qualifications and their experience? Somebody within the band might have been teaching people to play the pipes for the last 30 years. They might have been teaching somebody to play the drums for 20 years. They've been a member of the band that long, and they've been teaching people throughout the time. You're talking about that, how they've brought people through tuition schemes. Have you availed of any of the tuition schemes out there, like the Ulster-Scots agencies? Have you received grant support to deliver that? Do you deliver a tuition program yourself just for new members? And talk about that. How do you do that across as an ongoing thing throughout the life of the band? Do you take part in competitions? Have you any history of success? List those. What's your musical repertoire like? How's your skill levels? How are you bringing people through? Are you committed to improving? As part of this application, you have to upload a recording of your music, and you can either do this as a video or as a music file, and it's one recording, no more than 8 minutes long. Next section then is on to public benefit. Less than 200 words here. Maximum you're going to upload is 200 words. The system cuts off after that. And what you're trying to get across here is there increasing access to or participation in the arts, particularly for young people? You're providing opportunities for people to attend arts events. So you taking part in a band competition or a parade, for example, that's an open air arts event that lots of people come along and see is there. You're providing access to people across society. If you have lots of young people in the band, talk up the fact that there's lots of young people. You're providing opportunities for young people to get involved with what you're doing through the band, to learn a musical skill. You might be working in local schools. What about the quality of your tuition? Is this all free to people who want to join the band? You have people there that are willing to pass on their skills at no cost to the people. Section five, then. Sorry, I'm going to go back one there. I'm just going to go back one slide because I think I jumped forward. Yeah, so one other element within your public benefit is you might be an area of social or economic deprivation. There might not be anything else about you, and this is the only opportunity for people to engage with the arts in your area. Tell them about that. Your own instruments that you currently have, they might be knackered. That's the reality. Um, you've had them 25 years, they're past their sell by date, and you just need to replace them. And also talk about the impact that new equipment's going to have. Maybe you have new players waiting to join, and there's a potential for growth or for increased activity. It's going to allow you to play more tunes to a better standard. These are all reasons to be included here as part of this. And I'm just going to check that I didn't skip over. No, that's okay. Next one then is about your organizational financial viability, including quality of your management. So you want to show here the sound financial or managerial position you are in. Do you produce accounts? You are aware of budgeting. You handle everything in a professional manner. Have you previously got funding from anybody? Do you get a tuition grant from the Ulster-Scots agency? Do you deliver festivals or summer schools? Have you got money from funders before that you've managed to do it? If maybe you haven't got public money before, but you have, as a band, you have done something whereby you've pulled together the finances to deliver a project for yourselves, whether that's new uniforms or maybe you've taken on a trip, you've taken the band on a trip to the Somme, for example, which you had the budget for, work out how much it was going to cost, make all those arrangements and deliver that project. That's something you can talk up here in terms of this is proof that we can financially manage this. Who's in the band who potentially could be, you might have somebody who's a teacher or an accountant, or they could be like own their own business, who have experience of how to handle jobs like this and know how to take it forward. Um, Talk those people up. That tell them that you have the ability here to manage this. You're planning for the future. You're showing your ambition. How did you decide what instrument you're going to buy? Did you seek expert advice? Did you talk to other bands? Did you look purely on price? Who's going to look after delivery of this? Who's going to get the quotes? Who's going to get the payments? Who's going to make sure the delivery's done? Do you have the funding in place to complete the purchase if you're successful? You have to have 10% of the funding to complete this project. If you don't have it, how are you going to raise it? Don't forget, you must be able to do this by the 31st of March next year. And unless, if you haven't already got the money in place, the Arts Council will not release the award to you until you assure them that you have the ability to complete the purchase. So be realistic. If you actually are going to do a fundraising campaign around this, when are you going to have the money in place? You need to be planning for that now. Talking about the fact you hold committee meetings, there's nobody here benefiting from this personally in terms of finances. That you have proper bank signatories, you keep minutes of meetings, you understand the payment process. You're bringing people through onto your committee and looking at how you run your organization, how the band's run. Your AGM, it's held every year in compliance with your constitution. These are all things to talk up here. And remember, this entire question is 200 words maximum. So, bullet points will work. Try to get across your point. It's really important. The people assessing this grant will not know you from Adam. They can only assess you on what's on the page. And then we're into Program criteria. What effect is this going to have on the band and in terms of measuring your achievements? Are you going to sound better? Will you be able to develop the tunes you play or the skills that the band members have by having access to good quality, reliable instruments? Is it going to be an opportunity to attract new members? Are you as a competition band? Is having new instruments and sounding better going to improve your chances of winning something? Um, is it going to reinforce your community spirit or pride? You know, the band looks well walking down the street. The local community are really think, look at these people. These are proud representatives of our community. If you sound better, will you look better? You know, is there a better perception of the band? Are you starting to think about, well, actually, if we do all this, how's that going to impact on the band? Are we going to be better in terms of, is there more chance of us winning competitions? Are we going to engage more around competition? We're maybe not a competition band now, but we will be. You know, how are you going to measure all that? Thinking about showing the ambition that you have as a band. Next, we're into the financials. Unless your band is VAT registered, which very few bands are, you're going to fill in the total gross cost of the instruments here. Remember to work out what it is you're looking for. The maximum grant you can apply for is 10,000, but for to get 10,000 from the Arts Council, you have to be spending £11,000. You can spend less than that. You can also spend more. So, for example, if you decide, well, actually, we need to buy new pipes and new drums, and the total cost for that is £18,000, you can put that in on your application. But the most the Arts Council are going to give you is 10,000, and they're going to want to see that you have the additional resource in place to complete the purchase. Any instrument up to a value of £5,000, you have to have two quotes for it. And this is around, it's not, if you're, for example, if you're planning to buy 10 flutes and the flutes are all £350 each, giving you a total cost of 3,500, you only need two quotes. Each flute is actually only £350, so it's less than the 5,000. It's only if you're buying a specific instrument that maybe costs more than £5,000. And some of the, you know, the sort of more concert type bands would have things like I think contrabass flutes maybe was one that I heard someone talking about a while ago, and it might cost more than £5,000. It's a bespoke instrument. It's not going to be available off the shelf, um, and it's going to require you to get three quotes if that's possible. You should always use the figures from your cheapest quote, and they'll expect you to upload your quotes as part of the process. Um, Instead of accounts this year, you have to complete a table which asks for what your income and expenditure has been over the last 2 years. And basically, you're typing in the figure how much you brought in 23-24 and how much you brought in 24-25, and equally how much you spent in both of those years. And that's the only sort of financial information you have to put in this year. Um, This is the instrument pro forma that has to be included as part of the application. And you'll see here where you're putting in, you know, and I've created a fictitious band here, Sons of Billy. And basically what we're putting in here is what they want to buy. So they want to buy 10 flutes, 8 drums, and sorry, that should be 10 drums. And basically, or 8 drums, yeah, and a bass drum. And basically you're putting in there the cost of that it is. So your total cost is 10,960. The request of the amount that you're asking from the Arts Council, you want them to give you 9,900, and then the figures from your quotes. All those elements within that table should be filled in. You know, you need to make it clear how much the total cost is, but also how much you're asking for the Arts Council. And that should marry up with what your quotes are. If that stuff isn't there, if this table isn't filled in properly, this can get you rejected. And you really don't want to be rejected at this early stage, because they'll check your eligibility. If the information isn't there, you're not in, they won't even assess your application. That's it. So remember to fill in all the columns that you can. Partnership funding. If the cost of the instrument sought exceeds the maximum grant, please list all sources of partnership funding secured to make up the remainder of the instruments. Lots of bands will be putting the money in themselves. There'll be nobody else giving you money towards this. You need to state on the application form that the additional funds available are being provided by the band. I have asked clarification from the Arts Council around this. Do you need to put in a letter saying yes, we have additional resource coming from the band, and put a letter in from the band. Um, they're saying it won't hurt, but it's not absolutely necessary. But remember to fill in on the section what where you're getting the difference. Put in very, very clearly in the box there that the partnership funding is being made up by the band from its own funds, and that that money is guaranteed, because in the absence of that, they will not release the funding to you. Um, the next ones, sorry, I skipped on a bit there. Um, these are tick boxes. So when you get to page 8 on the application, it's a statement around equality of opportunity. And there's a statement that the Arts Council have approved, which is around equality of opportunity and good relations. You need to read that, and then at the bottom of the page, there's a tick box to say that you agree with it. You tick that box, and you move on. Page 9 then is around children, young people, adults at risk. Again, statement there about safeguarding. You're going to read that, and if you agree with it, you tick the box at the bottom. And bear in mind, you have to agree with it to move on. Publicity, openness, and accountability. Again, another statement. You need to. You're basically confirming that you will acknowledge that the Arts Council of Northern Ireland have given you money in all publicity that you do around promoting the fact that you got this money, sorry, from the fund. And also, you need to be aware that any information held by the Arts Council is potentially accessible by the public. They will make public that your grant, what you got a grant from them under this program. So just be aware of that. Uh, you then get to section 11, which is the applicant statement, and that's basically an opportunity for you to look over all the elements that you've completed on the form, and then you're basically ticking the box to do that, and then you're doing submit. But before you get to submit, you need to get to the next section, which is then around the attachments, and this is where a lot of sort of groups go wrong. There are two different places that you have to upload information to. One is the government funding database. If you're not already registered on that, and you can go on and Google this, you want to Google government funding database Northern Ireland and put in your band's name and see if you pop up. If you've ever got public money from anybody, you will be there. You need to log in and then upload your constitution and a list of your current office bearers. Those two must be there. If you have a rental agreement or lease for premises, you should also upload that. But if you don't have one, you don't have to. The other two, the constitution and the list of your current office bearers, must be there. If they're not there, you're out of the game. They will not fund you. Okay. And it's not an entirely automated process. So I would encourage you to do the check with government funding database as soon as you possibly can, because if you need to register, you have to send them a request to register, and they send you a link, and then you have to fill in all the details and then upload the documents, and that can take a bit of time. So do that as quickly as you possibly can. And this is just showing you what the page looks like, and you'll see if you look closely there. On the left hand side, there's at the top there is a thing called organization search. When you click on it, you can type in the name of your band and CDs pop up, and if you've got money, you will, and if you haven't, you probably won't. And this just gives you an idea of what you actually see when you log into it. Here's where you can go to get a new password. You can also email vcd@communities-ni.gov.uk to get log into your system if you can't remember your password. Okay, next then, attachments that you have to upload. These ones are uploaded on the Arts Council website. So you have to upload a recent recording. Has to be done within the last 3 years. It's no more than 8 minutes, and it's either music or video. And it's basically you playing through a number of tunes or a tune just to let them see and hear who you are and what you are about. Words of advice here. Make sure that it's clear, that the sound quality is good. The quality of your recording is more important than actually the sound of you playing. In the past, there's been occasions when there have been good bands and sounding good musically, but poor quality recordings, and they've been rejected on the quality of the recording, whereas a band that maybe didn't sound as good, but they didn't sound as good, but the quality of the recording was really good, have been successful. It's only one recording. That's what you do. You also have to upload the instrument request list, which I showed you earlier, and you download it from the Arts Council website, fill in all the details, put it up. You have to put up your supplier quotes. And then the next bits then you're putting up are a complete list of activities for the past year. So from the 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2025, containing dates, venues, and locations. Don't forget, so you put in here any parades you've taken part in, any band competitions, maybe you've been out at community showcase events, but equally, don't forget things like your band practice evenings. So if you've been doing 40 weeks a year where you're practicing together every Tuesday night for 2 hours, put that on the list. Those are 40 activities that you've done. You need to include them. And then again, the next file to be uploaded is a list of activities for the incoming year. What are you going to do from 1st of July this year right through to the end of June next year? And that's basically sort of showing what you've done already and what you plan to do, and build in here, if you think, right, with new instruments we can do more, put some more things in that you think you'll actually take part in next year. If this is applicable, have you taken part in any competitions in the last 2 years and been successful? Have you won anything, or maybe you didn't, but you still took part? Include the competitions you took part in. And if this is relevant, if you have got funding from somebody else to help you with this process, and I know that some bands out there are lucky enough, their local council maybe has given them some money, put the copy of the letter of offer there too, just so that they know that it's there. Um, Good relations sort of stuff, just to be aware. They do, as I said earlier, they do check your website. They will look to make sure that there's nothing on it that's offensive. If you've been turned down in the past because of something on your website or your social media, you need to prove to them that actually you've taken steps to address it. Um, it's just repeating that again. They will look to make sure there's nothing there that's offensive. But most bands, this isn't going to be an issue for them. Again, your attachments, your total of all attachments can't exceed 25 megabytes. They won't come back to the band for any further information. If there's any of the uploads missing, they won't even assess your application. Um, I would say to bands that a good way to look at this is, ideally, you don't want all this to fall to one person. So you want to try and get people to sort of share the load. So maybe get somebody who's going to draw up the activities list. Somebody else could be sourcing the quotes. At the point at which you're getting ready to do the final submission of the application, if one person is responsible for filling it all in and collating it all, that it's ready to be there, it's not a bad idea to have someone else look it over before you click submit, and just go through it page by page and see, have we answered every question? Is every question answered? When you get to the end where it says these are the compulsory uploads, is every one of those uploads there? Have you put everything in that needs to be there? Because you don't want to do all the work around this and then discover that you forgot something and you're not even going to be contacted. You'll not know until you get the Dear John saying, oh, you left something out, and you really don't want to be in that position. So don't leave uploading until the last minute. Website has a history of crashing, and you really don't want that to be the case where you're just about to hit the button and their website crashes. If you can get it done before the deadline, get it done. But also, peace of mind, gets it away and away from about you. For help and guidance, there's a couple of numbers there, and an email address. As much as we can, we'll help. But we can't write the application for you. We can occasionally cast our eye over it, make sure it's what you need to have there is there. But it is a relatively straightforward process. It's you're trying to get across the fact of what you do and how what you do makes a difference. That's the key thing here. And that's what you want to get across. But as I say, if we can help in any way, don't hesitate to get in touch.